Just a little update to this video. I wanted to repost it to give you some extra information here, and I will be talking about how to fix the waterlogged pressure tank. I did fix it successfully, which you'll find out near the end of the video, obviously, and I've never had a problem since. It's been probably a year and a half since I did this, and I've not had any trouble yet, although likely there is air leaking out of it slowly. I will probably need to unwaterlog it again. It's the old idea of, the older equipment lasts longer, but you also have to maintain it. And one thing I will say is that I am absolutely no expert on plumbing, and I kind of learn stuff as I go. So take this as maybe some ideas as to what you can do for your plumbing system, your pressure tank system, and obviously don't take what I say as a gold standard or anything like that. I'll do my best to give you information and to share what my experience was, and that's as far as I would go. So don't trust anything I say necessarily any more than what your experience finds out through your own trials and errors and tribulations with your pressure system in your house. So that's all I wanted to say, and check out the rest of the video, and I hope you enjoy it. This is going to be a supplemental video to my pressure tank unclogging or unwaterlogging my pressure tank. Now this pressure tank I'm showing here is a new one that I don't have hooked up. It's a newer style one that might look like what you have in your basement. This one has an inner airbag, just a rubber sack that you fill with air. It exerts pressure on the water at the bottom and pushes water out through your pipes. The one I have in service is this older fiberglass tank, and it, I don't believe, has a bladder in it. So I think it's just the old style Bell style tank where there's water in the bottom, there's an air bubble at the top, and if that air leaks out and your air bubble decreases, you have a shorter amount of time that you'll have pressure available, which means your well pump, which is here, will have to come on sooner, more frequently. You can see the pressure there, near 40. It hasn't come on yet. I think it comes on around 30 psi. And then that there is my coarse filter for our well water. It's pretty dusty, dirty down here. Here's how it goes. So you got your well pump. It goes down the pipe into the well, pumps up in here through the filter, through a large filter, really coarse filter, into the bottom of the pressure tank. It fills up the pressure tank. As the pressure in the tank increases, eventually the PSI goes up on the pump, obviously. Pump shuts off. The issue I was having was that this tank was nearly all full of water, and it was causing it to cycle the pump on and off because it would lose pressure so fast because there was hardly any air to compress in there. So I had to unwaterlog it, and I'm pointing at the it's like a bicycle tire valve right there that I had to you can put air through that. I had to drain the tank using that valve. I did drain it a bit over here. You can see I got another valve over here. This pipe goes up to the rest of the house. This is the main cold water line to the rest of the house, and then that splits off into my hot water and my cold water. But it's all pressurized from the same tank, obviously. So what I had to do, I had to unscrew it's just a bicycle tire cap on there, and there was nothing coming out of it, and I couldn't pump it up with a bicycle tire pump. I actually had to take it off, unscrew it, and punch a hole through. It was all calcium buildup or mineral deposits that were completely plugging this hole. So once I drained the water, I'd open that up, punch through with basically a screwdriver through all the mineral deposits, the white calcium buildup, and then I could pressurize it. So once all the water's gone, then you can start pumping air into it and pressurize it up to whatever pressure you want. I forget the numbers. It was in my blog, 30 psi or 40 psi or whatever actually I think this is at 20 psi. It's a little lower. You can, for higher pressure water, you can put it up to, I think, 30 or 35. I could be wrong, but you have to Google that, or I'll see if it's on my blog. But I think mine's at 20 psi because I wanted a bit lower pressure overall. So once you drain your tank, get all the water out of it, then fill it up to a certain pressure, 20 psi, whatever you want. Then you can turn your well pump back on and fill that tank back up with water. And what you're doing with the 20 psi is you're putting the air bubble in there, and the air bubble is pressurized to 20 psi, and so that as you fill it with water, the water will compress the air bubble and make its way up to, it will compress the air bubble to maybe 40-50 psi, depending on what you have your well pump set at to engage at, and then that will provide pressure. And if the air bubble is large enough, it will allow the tank to keep pressure on the water for a longer period of time, so your well pump cycles on and off less frequently, which means your well pump lasts longer, less wear and tear, less electricity spent, and overall better use, because your water in your faucets isn't powering on and off, and the flow rate isn't going up and down as frequently. It gives you more even flow rate and pressure as when you're taking a shower. So that's what I did. Once I filled up 20 psi, you open the valve, you let the pump fill it back up, and you're good to go. Now with this old tank, I will have to do that every couple of years probably until it starts leaking. My backup is this new one, which I haven't put in service yet. But when the old one fully dies and I can't unwaterlog it, or can't restore it, or maybe it springs a leak, then I'll put the bladder one in. But for now, no point fixing something that isn't broken at this point. So there you go, just a supplemental video to show you what I did with my water tank.